time to watch the Doctor Who tag. So sit right there. Don't move. Don't even blink. Hello and welcome to my channel. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is the Doctor Who tag. I was tagged by Andrew's Wizardly Reads, who's another huge Whovian, and his setup was so cool for this video, so I tried to grab a few things. Got Matardas, just a couple of my Doctor Who shirts. Of course, I'm wearing another one, not sure how well you can see it here. I actually have a bunch of Doctor Who t-shirts all around, so I'll grab a couple out. And we're definitely going to get going with this. Now, I want to preface before I start this tag that I feel like it was really rude of Andrew to tag me in such a fun tag and then steal all of my answers. So I'm going to try really hard to not have any same answers if I can help it to Andrew, because he stole all of my answers. But we're going to get into it. So there's a prompt for each Doctor. Andrew very rightfully added one too for the 8th Doctor, which I appreciate because McGann, I feel like, does not get any credit. And like the TV movie it wasn't terrible, but he's done other stuff then too, and he did a good job and deserved to be included with it. But we'll go through all of the prompts for all of the Doctors, starting with the 1st Doctor, the man who started it all, William Hartnell. And for anyone who's a Whovian and hasn't seen it, around the 50th anniversary, they did do a special kind of like movie that was all documenting all of the his story, being the 1st Doctor, how the show got created, and then when he ended up getting sick and no longer being able to continue the show as well. Really, really good. Super interesting to watch. I recommend it. So the prompt here is favorite first book. So Andrew, of course, answered with the same of what my answer really is, which is Eye of the World. Because when I hear favorite first book, I mean, this is my favorite series of all time. I love it. I have reread this book so many times, and I just feel like I almost love it more every time. Just opening it up, reading the first lines, every time just gives me chills. So really, this is, I had to still mention it, and I'll have a lot of these, but I still mention what my answers would be, but I said I'm going to try to not do the same answers as Andrew, so I grabbed another favorite first book, and that is Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I love this book. This book is my favorite of Stormlight so far. It's not the best of Stormlight so far, but it's just my favorite. I loved this just immediately. I really needed another big series to fill the void once the Wheel of Time was finished, and I wasn't waiting on Wheel of Time books anymore. And Sanderson, I feel like, has definitely given me that with the Stormlight archive. And I am so excited to read the rest of these over the next however many years it ends up being to get all 10 of them. But even though later books, like Words of Radiance, I feel like is probably technically the best. Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, also fantastic, but I love this book. I've read it the most times because I usually reread before the next book comes out. I love Kaladin's arc especially, and that's why I love this book so much. But I think this definitely it works very, very well as an alternate answer to Eye of the World for a favorite first book. So next we have favorite sequel for this 2nd Doctor. And once again, I feel like Andrew stole my answer here, but truthfully, my favorite sequel absolutely is Royal Assassin. I liked Assassin's Apprentice, but I wasn't completely sold on the series until Royal Assassin. I was maybe halfway through this when I realized Robin Hobb was going to be one of my favorite authors of all time. And I've now read 6 Hobb books, going to be starting the Tawny Man trilogy here in the next couple of months as well. I love Robin Hobb. I love this book. This is my single probably favorite book, most likely, that she's written so far, which Ship of Destiny comes close, but absolutely love the Farseer trilogy. This is probably the best book 2 I've ever read of anything. Oftentimes in a trilogy, book 2 can be one of the worst ones because things kind of get weird as they're moving between books 1 and 3, but not here. Such an amazing, amazing book is Royal Assassin. But I couldn't go with that, so I went with what probably was my favorite book 2 ever until I read Royal Assassin, and that is Prince of Dogs by Kate Elliot. So I talk a lot about Crown of Stars because I love Crown of Stars. But I'd randomly picked up King's Dragon, didn't really know much about it. Just the art was interesting, and the covers for most of the books are a little weird. But I was interested, and I'm like, I'm just going to try this because I kept seeing it around at my used bookstore, and I wanted to try it out. And I read King's Dragon, and I really liked it. It was very enjoyable. I did immediately buy the rest of the series after reading it. But when I read Prince of Dogs, this is... I've read the first 4 now, and this still might be my favorite. Book 4 was so freaking good, though. So I think book 4 wins out, I think. But this, as a second book, it was so good. It built on everything that had happened in the first book, expanded more, and just flowed so well. I don't think I've ever read a book with transitions quite as good as this book. It just flowed from one character to the next, arc to the next. It was just amazing the way that this was written. It was followed up by book 3, which was my least favorite of the series so far, and then book 4 really came back strong and showed why book 3 was the way it was for a lot of ways. But Prince of Dogs is definitely, once again, like Way of Kings for the first question, definitely deserves to be in the discussion of a favorite sequel. So, the next prompt, number 3, is favorite trilogy, and Andrew also stole my answer here. You're going to be hearing that a lot with the Farseer trilogy. So I figured I needed to go with a different answer for that as well. So I went with another trilogy that I do absolutely love and have read several times, and that is the Mistborn trilogy, Era 1. Era 2 is not even a trilogy, but I really loved Mistborn. I read Warbreaker was the first Sanderson book for me, and then I went immediately into Mistborn and was just blown away. I think this trilogy really started to show where he was going to go, how much he was going to up the ante with the Cosmere and all of the interconnected books and everything that he was going to be then doing with Stormlight, which I read after. Just great. I really love it. I know some people have issues with book 2 or book 3. I loved all 3 of them. This was also a fantastic first book in a series. Really enjoyed book 2, and book 3 just took it so much bigger than I was ever expecting it to be taken with this series. So I have read this a few times, and I will reread again because most Sanderson are stuff that I'll definitely reread for probably the rest of my life. But Mistborn is a fantastic trilogy, so I think is a good answer here. So number 4, for the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, who's my favorite of classic Who. I love Tom Baker. He had a lot of great storylines and was in the part for quite some time. Definitely great on the classic side. And the prompt here is a book with a colorful cover, I assume referring to his scarf. And so I went with a book I still haven't actually read yet, but I actually am reading very soon. So we'll finally know if I like it. But just a cover that I absolutely love. Let's get real up close here, and that's the Priory of the Orange Tree. I don't think you can see it in this lighting, but it's got kind of a holographic cover that shines different parts, like the windows, the dragon, all of the colors. And this is probably not the most colorful cover, but it's such a beautiful cover. Has a lot of different contrasting colors as well. Really love that cover. I'm really hoping I like the book too. It's a book that I've heard from a lot of people tends to be very hit or miss. People either loved it or really didn't like it. So I'm excited to find out where I am. I think it's one of those books I'm just gonna have to read to find out. I was planning on reading it later this year already, but it got bumped up as a buddy read in Discord. Which, side note, if you want to join in way too many buddy reads, definitely check out the link in the description for the Discord. But that's what I am going with there. So the prompt for the 5th Doctor is a book that features sports, and I was really struggling here. And somebody actually in Andrew's book commented, or in his video commented about Unseen Academicals, which I know involves sports, but I haven't read it yet. So I don't want to use that as an answer because I haven't read it. So what I ended up going with, because this is a bit of a reach, but Jurassic Park, because the super obnoxious Lex is very constantly wanting to play catch or play baseball or do anything but look at the amazing dinosaurs in front of her. And so that is about as close as I could get. I'm sorry, I really didn't know what else to do with sports, which just aren't really the books that I read a whole lot. So that's where we went with Jurassic Park. The Sixth Doctor prompt a dark and powerful villain. So this one, I was thinking, and there's a lot of different like dark and powerful villains, but you're just thinking of like extremely dark, extremely powerful. I figure, you know what, you can't probably top Lord Fowl. This is the first book in the first Chronicles of Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever. And these books are pretty crazy, but Lord Fowl is one of those, like, just like almost the personification of like hate and rage and disease and everything that is foul. And the things that happen in this trilogy are pretty crazy. The way that it ends, and this is one too. I keep saying I'm going to read the second trilogy this year. I don't know if that's going to happen at this point because I keep having to push things around as I get join more and more buddy reads and read more and more books. But Lord Fowl is such a fantastic villain. Is like, you know, one of those embodiment of evil type forces. That's been done a ton. There are a lot of examples of it, but something about Lord Fowl and like the way he just twists everything, uses everything for his own gain, and just legitimately kind of just personifies corruption and vileness. It's such a great villain from a really, really great trilogy here with Thomas Covenant. Next up, we have Seven, which is a favorite adult or dark book. And I guess I don't know why. I mean, like, I didn't think Seven was all that overly dark. I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting things that had happened with Doctor Who. There is a ton of it. I haven't seen every single episode by any stretch, especially with the classic. But I was thinking about this, and when I hear dark, immediately my thought went to Broken Empire trilogy by Mark Lawrence. But I've talked about that a fair amount recently in some other tags, so I went with another pretty dark series, which is the Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. This is the first book, The Warded Man. And this series in general is in this world that basically every night, once the sun goes down and it gets dark, demons rise up like from the earth, and the only way to protect yourself is by using different wards. And so humanity lives bunched up. There are a few large cities and few and far between like towns where people are isolated because of the fact that if you go out at night, you're probably going to die. So like traveling is practically non-existent. There's a guild of people who specifically are like the only people who will actually travel, uh, because that's their profession, to deliver messages and stuff because of it. And the book really, like, all of the main characters are broken down repeatedly and just like completely destroyed and then kind of remolded into the people that they come. So there's a ton of darkness in this series in general. There are a lot of probably adult things in it as well. To be fair, with that, there's quite a lot of violence, sexual content, and violence of that sort as well, and just a ton going on here. But it was a really well done series, some really interesting themes, and just an overall really good story. So that's definitely a good one. Then we have a number 8, the one Andrew added, a dramatic book or a book with a lot of melodrama. And whenever I hear melodrama, I instantly go to Ship of Magic, book 1 of the Live Ship Traders. And that, of course, because he steals all my answers, he figured out everything I would answer, and then he answered them. So I swapped this one out as well. I had to really think about this because I don't read like a ton of like really melodramatic books. That's not a normal thing I see a ton. I could definitely think of some that have moments, but I was trying to think of one that had like a lot of it. And so I actually went with, I'm grabbing a tiny copy I just got. You probably can't even see that. This is the Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas, and and whenever I do my book haul video for this, I'll talk more about why this is the thing that it is. But this book has just a ton of melodrama. I need to reread it and read the others as well at some point. It's been a long time, but just kind of the way that everything's done, it very much is kind of almost soap opera at points with the dialogue and with the way everything goes. So I figured that was a good answer to stand in place for that prompt. All right, so question number 9, and this is where we split away from the questions being the actual doctors specifically. So number 9 is the War Doctor, and what is a book you wish you could forget? So for me, this is very easily. There's a few that I've talked a lot about that I really disliked, but most recently I was trying to read Revealing Eden by Victoria Thorpe as a punishment book, and it was so bad. There were so many things, so many just horrible things about it, and I did not even read the whole book. The Discord ended up giving me an out after I ranted a little bit about the book and posted some actual passages. I'm like, look at this. It was so bad. I just want to erase that and pretend it never happened and go from there for sure. So question 10 is the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, who was my first Doctor. I got into Doctor Who a bit later, and so I hadn't seen any of the classic Who before seeing New Who. I love Christopher Eccleston. He was my first Doctor, and I really, he'll always hold that special place. I've actually got in my TARDIS here, which this used to make a sound. It doesn't anymore. But if you can see, there is Christopher Eccleston and Rose, and just absolutely loved that season with Christopher Eccleston. I wish he would have stuck around longer. So definitely wanted to see more actual video him being the Doctor. It would have been a lot of fun. I was really hoping for that. But the prompt here is, what book made you pick up a genre or a series again? And so my answer here, something I also love, like Christopher Eccleston, was Guards. When I first started Discworld, I started in publication order with Color of Magic, and I really didn't like Color of Magic at all. And so I never actually technically finished Color of Magic. I stopped with like 30 pages to go because I just didn't care anymore. And it definitely is not a great representation of what Discworld ends up being. But a lot of people, including Alan from the Library of Alexandria, recommend starting with Guards. I finally figured, I'm like, okay, I will start with Guards. And I loved Guards. And then I went back and I continued going in publication order. And I read the first 11, I think, and I will have probably read the 12th by the time this comes out. But Guards was really great, got me back into Discworld, and I am so happy that it did because I really enjoyed the books. They've gotten just better and better as they've gone on, so really excited there. Prompt number 11, which is for the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, who, I mean, as you can see, I do really love David Tennant. And though I was just talking about how much I love Christopher Eccleston, and I do, he'll always have that special place as my first Doctor. David Tennant really became my favorite because probably I got more time with him, and he was just so perfect for the role. I really enjoy him as an actor and other things too since then, but man, such a huge fan of the David Tennant time, and I really want to go back and watch more Doctor Who like right now. But I have to get to the actual prompt, which is, what is a favorite super hyped book? And so I went with a couple things here. The first one I went with that I've actually read is Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This was hyped up quite a lot, and man, look at the cover. Like the dragon continues on the back. But this was hyped up quite a lot by a lot of people who were really looking forward to this. A new story, a different world from John Gwynne. And I actually read an e-arc of this before it came out, and then still immediately pre-ordered after because I knew I wanted a physical copy of it. I loved this book. It wasn't without flaws completely, but to me, it seemed like John Gwynne had really gotten better at his craft. The prose here is better. You get a lot more character descriptions like you didn't get in some of the early Faithful and Fallen books. Way less POVs and a little bit more streamlined. Really enjoyable book. Did live up to the hype. Not gonna lie, I'm almost done with Ruin now, though, and I think I'm still gonna end up liking Faithful and the Fallen more, just because it has that kind of more epic scale. Although this set up for some pretty epic things, but this was a book that completely lived up to the hype for me. I was really excited to read it. I couldn't believe I got an e-arc for it, and it did not let me down whatsoever. So that definitely was a really big one. That was super hyped, and I think deserved it. Then next, I wanted to do one that's been super hyped up to me, I don't know if it's necessarily as nearly as popular as it should be from the sound of it, but one I'm really, really excited to read, and that is The Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham. This I started mostly hearing from Alan at the Library of Alexandria, but I've heard quite a few people over on Slowly Read's Discord server also talk about this. They have quite a lot of fans over there as well, and it's just I've had so many people hype this up so much, and it really, really sounds like a series that I will very much enjoy. It's supposed to be kind of like amazing prose, but a bit slow and more just focused on the characters versus the plot in some ways, and so I'm really excited. I just noticed there's a blurb from Kate Elliott that she highly recommends it, so as if, and Brandon Sanderson and Kate Elliott both have blurbs for the Long Price Quartet. So as if it couldn't have been hyped more, holding it up in front of my face, I'm now even actually more excited to read this. I'm probably going to want to read all four close together, though, and it's pretty long for all four. So that's why I haven't gotten to it yet, but I am so excited to get to it. All right, so prompt number 12, which is for the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, and I did enjoy Matt Smith. I think he did a really good job. I liked Russell T Davies' writing more than I liked Stephen Moffat as the showrunner, but he did a great job, and I think partially a lot of it is he made it really, really popular in the U.S. more so. It was the Matt Smith era, at least that I saw, that really popularized it in the U.S. So I think that's a good thing too. This prompt is, what is your favorite middle grade or children's book? And so what I went with, and granted, it's been a long time since I read this, but one I remembered really enjoying when I was younger was the Barnabas trilogy. And so I was able to actually find all of these used really cheap and good condition. This is the boring alternate cover, though. The other ones have much cooler covers, so maybe I shouldn't have grabbed this one. But this is the one I grabbed. I remember really enjoying this. I plan to reread it at some point. They should be pretty quick to get through, so definitely something I do plan on doing. But this follows basically it's kind of like a real world but with magic, and it takes place like pre-Revolutionary War in Britain, where there are magicians and they're like part of existence and they're known and everything. And the primary form of magic is they summon demons to do things. Bartimaeus is one such demon, but he is actually summoned by a young boy instead, and they have all kinds of things that go on in adventures. And I don't remember a ton of specifics, like I said, because of the fact that it's been many, many years, but it's one I'm looking forward to rereading, and I hope I still like it and that it holds up. But we will find out. All right, so prompt number 13 is the 12th Doctor. And so I think this, based on the question, because the prompt is what's your most anticipated new release, I think this was before the 12th Doctor was out, any of this stuff. I've actually not seen more than like a handful of episodes. I wasn't feeling the writing much. I think Capaldi was doing fine as an actor, but the writing didn't seem to be there, and I'd heard that it had kind of gotten worse, and so I'm not going to lie, I have not seen anything barring a few of Capaldi's episodes, including I haven't seen the latest Doctor at all, although I do plan to check it out at some point and go in back and see the new stuff, but I have not, so I'm sorry. But this question is most anticipated new release, and so for this one, I don't honestly pay a ton of attention to new releases. It's something I've never really just paid that much attention to for the most part, but there's a Brandon Sanderson book coming out this year, so definitely Cytonic is something that I am going to be looking forward to. Wax and Wayne 4 is probably next year, so I figured that the one coming sooner is going to be Cytonic. And I've enjoyed the first two books, so I'm excited to give this one a read as well. That's pretty much what I have. I don't know a ton of other new releases that are going to be coming, barring a couple of e-arcs that I have. So there is, I'll shoot it out. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to be, but The Desert Prince by Peter V. Brett is going to be coming out this year, and that's an e-arc I have. I think it comes out in August, so I'll get to read that ahead of time. So, and I already have it, so that's why it's not as anticipated, because I have it. I don't have to anticipate it. So those are kind of what I have for those answers. And then 14, we've reached the end. This has been a long haul. 14 for the 13th Doctor, and this was, I think, another one Andrew added in, and it is, what book has your favorite found family? This one, he did have a great answer with talking about Dragonlance, the original Chronicles, but I absolutely had to go with, especially since I'm still reading it now as of filming this, The Faithful and the Fallen by John Quinn, because these books have found family for days. There are lots of different groups, just these people, sometimes very unlikely people working together, becoming like family. Really, really enjoyable trope, especially so well done in these books. So Faithful and the Fallen, I feel like is a very easy answer for me here, which I'm just amazing found family. So that is the end of the Doctor Who tag. I really want to go watch some Doctor Who, but before that, I need to tag some people. So this is a little hard because I'm not really sure, who all are actual Whovians or even casual Doctor Who fans. So this was kind of difficult to figure out who to tag. The first person I'm going to tag is Drew from Drew's Book Reviews. I'm pretty sure he's a Doctor Who fan. I'm sorry if I'm remembering that incorrectly, but if I'm tagging you and you're not a Doctor Who fan, feel free to not do the tag if you want. But I'm going to tag Drew, and then I wasn't sure who else to tag, so I grabbed a couple of other creators, and I'm just hoping that maybe they like Doctor Who. But first, I'm going to tag Journey for the Pages, mostly because I haven't actually seen him around posting a video for a little bit. So I figure I'll give you an excuse to make a video if you want to do this tag. And then I figured I'd also tag Angela from the Literature Science Alliance, or Sci Alliance in general, and see what her take would be. I'd seen some of her videos, and she reads a lot of very different books than I do, so I figured there'd be some really interesting answers there as well. So those are the people that I'm going to tag. No pressure, like I said, if you're not actually a Doctor Who fan to do this. But I wasn't really sure, and so I wanted to make sure that I did tag some people. But that is it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. If I didn't tag you, but you want to do this and are a Doctor Who fan, absolutely do it. I'd love to see more of this. This was such a fun tag to watch and then to do. Make sure to check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord. Really, really great time in the Discord. We've been growing a ton and have a lot of different people. So come talk Doctor Who or anything else as well if you want to join us there. And of course, if you enjoy my content and would like to see more, make sure to subscribe.